In 2024, Samsung released a lot of products. Today, we review them all. Let's go. Yes, it's been a big year of Samsung releases, and rather than go through an awards ceremony, I thought I'd just review everything instead, starting with the Galaxy S24 series. Released as a trio, which is customary now for Samsung pretty much since the Galaxy S10, although that had 4. Doesn't matter. I'm going to look at the base and the Plus separately compared to the Ultra, because they're different offerings. The base model and the S24 Plus are Samsung's most refined slab smartphones that basically just look generic. Slim bezels, premium design, even if they are generic looking, high quality displays, and high-end camera hardware for the most part. Great for someone who wants top-end hardware, but isn't bothered by the top-end bells and whistles like S Pen and crazy zoom. For me, that makes them a bit boring, but that's why I don't use them. Their cameras are solid. Some of the hardware's running a bit long in the tooth now, particularly the ultra-wide and the 3x, although that 1x camera as well is also a few generations behind. Samsung make up for it though with really good processing. The Exynos 2400 in here did a great job at providing really good output. And alongside that too, the software offering that these have gives you incredible camera mode flexibility alongside the hardware and the processing. In my region, we had the Exynos processor, which I would say had them performing very well, especially in some of the testing I did earlier in the year. And it was a lot better than the doomsayers about Exynos would have you believed that these would perform like. They offered a dependable choice in the S24 lineup if you didn't quite want to make the jump to the Ultra. But if you did want to jump to the Ultra, it offered so much more. This almost felt like Samsung's end game design when it comes to their Ultra lineup, especially for the industrial approach that they've kind of been adopting. This feels like the end of the road for it, where they wanted to go with the design they'd created. Sharp corners, the boxy sort of industrial note looking phone. This was it. They slowly but surely worked on flattening the display as well from the S22 Ultra up to this. It's a completely flat front display. That display is also still the best in the business. Launching way back in January, no other phone, I believe, has matched it for what it can offer on a whole scale as opposed to just maybe brightness or colors. This has got everything squared away, because not only does it have all of the brightness and the colors and the dynamic range, it also offers a best-in-class anti-reflective coating thanks to the Gorilla Glass armor. And look, that truly set tongues wagging in the industry this year. Everyone that's used this phone brags about it. And I can tell you that even though people have said, oh, that coating falls away, it doesn't. This is my Z Fold Special Edition, and if I hold this up to the light, look at the difference. There is no comparison. This is still the best. On the camera front, on the back, Samsung added more flexibility, and they had to do that by removing a camera and replacing it with a different one. They got rid of the 10x camera and replaced it with a 5x. Now on paper, you might have thought that that would have hampered the experience, but realistically what it did is it gave you more because there was a 50 megapixel resolution, meaning you could go from 5x to 10 and anywhere in between and snap a high resolution crop whilst you're zooming. So it gave you better quality and more range out of the camera. It wasn't all peaches and roses though when it comes to the camera. There were lots of issues regarding optimization at longer zoom lengths, so past 10 and beyond. And some of the hardware that's on this has gone a bit long in the tooth. The 3x camera in particular is now showing its age. Great that it's there because it gives you that little extra option in between 1 and 5, just a little bit of a different camera to sort of zoom into, but it definitely is a little bit lackluster, especially when you compare it to what else is out there now. But camera modes and software brought this thing back up. The introduction of dual recording, being able to record in 4K 30 on this from 2 cameras at the same time, has been life-changing. Used it just last night when recording my son on stage at the Christmas carols. I wanted the nice wide shot of the stage and the audience, and then the close-up shot of them singing. Fantastic. And this offers that. And sport, I should say. Using it at my son's football has been truly remarkable. Performance-wise, I think there was a little bit lacking in the battery department, and I don't know whether that's down to Samsung's optimization, whether the 5000 mAh battery is too small now, which seems crazy, or the fact that the 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy just wasn't as efficient as what it could have been. I definitely felt the difference from the S23 Ultra from last year to this in terms of long-lasting battery life. Overall, the S24 series offered some really solid upgrades from S23, and I really like the Ultra. Despite what some of the people have said about this phone, it still offers, I think, the most complete slab smartphone experience to date, especially when you consider it still has the S Pen. Let me know your experiences with your S24 series in the comments below. Next is the A series. Now, I didn't get the A55 this year. I had the A54 last year for a brief period of time, and I reviewed it, and that told me all I need to know about what the A series is. What you need to know is that the A series is, I guess, like the S series in its offerings, and it has some base models, and then it goes up to the flagship, the A55, or maybe the S24 FE is the true A series flagship. Who's to know? The base model phones run what Samsung call oneui Core, which I think is Android Go. It's a very stripped back version of oneui. You don't get things like Samsung Wallet. You don't get a lot of the essentials that sort of formulate part of Samsung's operating system, ecosystem. With the A55, it's obviously got the best of the mid-range hardware. Samsung have done a lot to bring better specs like IP67, a 50 megapixel main camera, and a better display. That's all there. But what you really are getting access to at that price point is Samsung's branding and their ecosystem that then becomes available to you once you enter into it. Samsung have got a unified design language with the A series. I think the A55 definitely has a bit of a S24 FE appeal about it. And that might be something that from an aesthetic point of view attracts customers to it, because you don't feel like you're getting a lesser design just because you're not paying the premium money. But for those who know that these are just, in terms of the experience, nowhere near the premium level that you get from a bigger flagship or a flagship. So if you do want to dip your toes into the flagship territory, hang on until the S24 FE section a little bit later on. Before I get to foldables, I want to formally announce that I have got channel memberships open down below. I have had them around for a while, and I really want to thank the people that have joined so far. You'll see your name coming up on the screen now. I really appreciate the support. A lot of you are some of the first ones to watch whenever I upload a video and comment as well. Very much appreciated. But if you want to be part of the Tech with Benefits membership community, you've got 2 tiers on offer. Depending on the tier that you choose, the first one will get you access to priority comments, give you a little badge that shows that you're part of the Tech with Benefits community, and it's just a really nice sort of entry point. But if you want to go to the next tier, you'll get access to videos early. I have a bit of a schedule, and I sometimes upload my videos a few days before they drop. So if you want to see those videos before anyone else, use the membership button below and get yourself access. And thank you to those who have already joined. Of course, you can still subscribe if you don't want to do that. I'll happily thank you for that as well. So Flip 6 and Fold 6 were next. Starting with the Flip, and I guess isolating this on its own because it is a completely different phone to the Fold, this was a great implementation of a flip phone. Solid industrial design, but fashionable at the same time. Little accents like the colored camera rings or the colored frame and the bright fun colors sort of lent itself to that this was a fashion-focused design as opposed to just an industrial one. The Flip 6 definitely had a lot design-wise going for it, even if compared to the 5, it hasn't drastically changed too much. Internally though, it got huge upgrades. A massive vapor chamber for cooling, a bigger 4000 mAh battery, which definitely made a difference to usage, and a brand new borrowed 50 megapixel main camera that we've seen on the S24 series. All of that is really nice. Huge quality of life upgrades. Fundamentally though, the core Flip experience hasn't changed. The Flex Cam on the front gives you obviously a lot of flexibility, pun intended, and the Flex mode for camera when it's open also gives you all of that extra functionality that this can give you that a normal phone just can't. Then you've got the utility of the design for entertainment outside of the camera experience, being able to consume media on the top half and control it at the bottom. This is by no means a boring phone. You will never get bored of using the Galaxy Z Flip 6. The Fold 6 saw Samsung move further into the direction that they believe foldables should be. Although they did make the cover screen ever so slightly wider, they shrunk what was around it down. So the hinge and the bezels meant that it still kind of maintained their philosophy of what a foldable should be. You've all heard me wax lyrical about the Fold 6 multiple times, whether that be on Twitter, whether that be in videos here on YouTube. So to offer a different take, I got my friend Samuel Nam to come and talk to us about how he's liked the foldables because he wasn't using a Fold up until this year. Take it away, Sam.
Hello humans. Thanks Daniel for having me on. Honestly, if it wasn't for you, I don't think I would have even tried the Fold 6. Like when you told me, there was a time you messaged me and said, Sam, I truly think this Fold 6 was made for you. I was like, all right, bro. But then when I tried it, it blew my mind and my wife's mind. Thank you for introducing me to the Fold 6. So I've been using the Fold 6 for about 3 months before I made my review. And as a primary iPhone user, it was so satisfying every time I opened the device, just knowing that this thing was light years ahead of the iPhone in terms of engineering, and it just felt good. You know what? I actually purposely took the Fold 6 to the Apple store just to see their brains just melt when they saw this device. All of these guys working at the Apple store, they've seen the posters and stuff and maybe ads on YouTube, but they've never touched it in real life. And when you see them interact with it in real life, they're just like, wow. There was a guy that just said wow like 10 times. And I got it on camera too.
Wow, honestly, that's crazy, the fact, yeah. Wow.
So I just want to start with the design and the form factor. I feel like this is peak Fold design because I love that industrial boxy look. I don't like how wide the S24 Ultra is. Now this, I couldn't stop comparing to the iPhone 13 mini and iPad mini in one. I just couldn't stop comparing it because that's what it felt like. And I love that narrow screen. I know the Fold 7 is probably gonna get wider, judging by the rumors and stuff like that. So I'm gonna hold on to this Fold 6 until they bring the narrow screen back. If they don't, I'm just gonna hold on to the Fold 6. I took this Fold 6 as my primary device overseas with my wife, and we were shooting documentaries there and things like that. And dude, this is when I fell in love with the device, because when you actually start using it to get real world stuff done, it's as good as you think it's gonna be. You know what I mean? Like if you just imagine a 2-in-1 device that folds in half, becomes a phone, unfolded, becomes a mini tablet. That sounds good on paper, right? This is actually good in real life. And that's why I was so hyped about this phone. I couldn't make a video until about 3 months later because I wanted that hype to die down so that I could be level-headed when I talk about this phone. Simple basic stuff. I had like a huge shoot schedule that I had on Google Sheets and stuff like that. I was going back and forth with the calendar, amazing. And just general, photo editing on the go and stuff like that with the S Pen. It was just a perfect device for me for that trip. And in fact, I was meant to, as soon as I got back from Mongolia, I was actually meant to go on to my next device, which is the Pixel 9, but I just kept using it. I used it for another month before. Now I'm using the Pixel 9 now, but I used it for an extra month because I just didn't want to let it go. So whether it's for productivity or entertainment, this does it very well. Now, battery life. On paper, it may not look like a crazy battery life, but they have optimized it. If you actually look at tests online, I've seen this thing beat 5100 milliamp hour batteries by the Chinese phones. So the Chinese phones on paper looks amazing, but if you actually look at side-by-side comparisons, the Fold 6 actually outlasts them. It's similar to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Got a tiny battery, like 40, actually I don't know what battery's in there, but it's in the 4000 milliamps. And it just destroys all the 5000 milliamp Android phones because optimization. And I feel like Samsung are number one when it comes to software. And so when it comes to battery life, I got more screen on time with the Fold 6 than I did with the 15 Pro. And I never complained about the 15 Pro battery life, so no complaints there. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they increased the battery life, but I'm saying it's not a problem. If I was to nitpick and pick like 1 or 2 things that I had against the device, it would be number 1, the price. I just hope Samsung figures out a way to make this a bit more affordable so that more normal humans can pick this device up, because I feel like so many people are missing out because of just that price point. I mean, you can pick up the older device for much cheaper, but I'm just saying, like $3,000. That's like crazy for a phone. Oh, another one is the Galaxy AI drawing tools in particular. Circle to search is fine, and the removing stuff in the photos, that's all cool. But the Galaxy AI, the drawing stuff, like the first impression I had of it just blew my socks off. Like it was just so cool. But in reality, I actually never used it. I used it once, and I used it once for a YouTube video. So technically I didn't use it, not once. Genuinely for me, it's just a 2-in-1 form factor, having that, dust resistance, being water resistant, looking cool, being narrow, the form factor absolutely blows my mind. How does Daniel end his videos again? Yo! Something like that. Yo, bro! Yo, bro!
Thanks, Samuel. I love how excited he gets over this form factor. So appreciate him jumping on and giving his thoughts. The thing is, this wasn't the only fold that Samsung released this year. We'll get to the SE though at the end, because next is the S24 FE, another edition phone, but this time a fan edition, not a special edition. And I'm just not sure what's fan edition about it. I think, just to talk about that briefly, Samsung's idea of a fan edition is that it's got all of the stuff that fans like about Galaxy in a much more affordable package. And I can get it, I can get around it, so that's why it's FE. What I said in my full review is that this phone likely isn't going to be for you. Now, this is very heavy assumptions being made about my audience, but just judging by my content and what has the most interest, the Ultra and the Fold tend to be the most interested devices that people come to watch. But this phone has a place, and whilst it might not be for me, might not be for you, it could be for you, or the other person who's watching this video that is interested in the fan edition. The reason why is because it's a standard phone. It does what it needs to and not a thing more. It's not that it doesn't offer some of Samsung's amazing bells and whistles. Like, this has Samsung DeX. This has all of the camera modes that you could want them to have. This has a flagship processor. Galaxy AI is in here. Like, it still has features. It just looks less complicated because of its design. And that's not a slight on it. Absolutely not. This is designed for the most mass market appeal you could imagine. The only thing that bothered me was the cameras that flanked the main camera, the ultra wide and the 3x. They just didn't offer enough hardware for me to really take advantage of what the processor could do. Fortunately, the processor is still capable enough and does bring their level up, but it's still disappointing. The last one to mention here is the Fold Special Edition. Yes, this one here. I need to once again thank Michael from Average Dad. He was kind enough to send this out to me, and I really appreciate it. If you wanted to grab one too, he actually has a tech store where he sells these. So use the link in the description below with the discount code and he'll ship it right out to you. Now, I'm still in the process of cultivating my full review on the Fold Special Edition. I'm in a bit of a conflicted state of mind over it. The reason why I'm conflicted is because I've never been more in love with Samsung hardware than what I have on this. And that includes the S21 Ultra. They have got this style of fold, the normal smartphone on the front, and then the tablet on the inside, spot on. Thin, light, it's effectively the same weight as the Galaxy S24 Ultra. It has a nice 21:9 aspect ratio on the front, 6.5 inches, and then a crazy big 8-inch tablet when unfolded on the inside. That finally has sort of done away with the big giant indent in the middle. Even though it disappears, it doesn't matter. Design is lovely. Flat sides, slightly rounded, sharp corners. It's just perfect from an aesthetic point of view. It's got a 200 megapixel main camera that has a larger sensor behind it, giving it better, more natural, artsy photos that you can take. It's got an updated ultra wide camera, which allows you to do macro photography. Like, everything you could want. It's the most captivated I've been in years about a Samsung release. Yet, I'm incredibly frustrated at the same time. I get it, it's a limited release. Korea and China through the W25. But why couldn't Samsung throw more at this? Why couldn't there be a 5x telephoto camera? Why is the inner camera not under display? Why is there no S Pen support? Why wasn't there a bigger battery to take advantage of the bigger surface area that you now have to put a bigger battery into? I have so many questions that are swirling around in my head about why this wasn't more than what it was. All of those omissions could be why Samsung didn't release this globally, but it also could be a factor in trying to make the Fold 6 customers not be too upset that this was too much better than what the Fold 6 was. Because the Fold 6 still has the competitive advantage of having an under-display camera and S Pen support. But the thing is, every time I pick up and use this, those frustrations melt away. Not just because it's incredibly hot here in Australia. Today is almost pretty much 28 degrees and this room's probably hotter, but it's because it's just so fun to use. And it's changed my usage of a foldable even more than what the Fold 6 was already doing. The wider cover screen is close enough to a normal phone that you don't need to unfold it. Although when you do, you have that crazy big tablet on the inside. And that inside display offers utility that only a foldable can. Entertainment, productivity through split screen. And it does both of those things in a much more natural way. Entertainment across the top. I love watching YouTube videos in that sort of portrait orientation. And then productivity with split screen means that the aspect ratio of the two screens are basically like a normal phone next to each other. All of that in a package that folds away and fits comfortably in your pocket. Now that's a lot of releases. Samsung release a lot of phones. That's not even their product lineup, that's just their phones. There's, of course, the watches, there's buds, there's rings over here. So many other product categories. Galaxy Book 4 Ultra, which is sitting over there. Everything. Samsung have a hand in it and they release it. I think, though, for me, as far as the best phone this year Samsung have released goes, it's the Fold 6. I know I said how much I love the special edition, but there is some things in there that are missing that don't quite complete the package. Fold 6 has them. S Pen support, water and dust resistance through IP48, a solid industrial design that leans into the foldable form factor that Samsung believe in, the narrow form factor on the front, the nice tablet screen on the inside, under display camera, dependable cameras, solid cameras that actually work in a way that a normal phone can't do. I really want Samsung to bless us with 2 foldables again next year and release it globally, like a Fold 7 and a Fold 7 Ultra. Please, please, Samsung. Thank you to everyone who's watched this year and enjoyed my content, enjoyed the phones that Samsung have released. Let me know which one's been your favorite phone in the comments below. Here's to another 12 months in 2025 of Samsung releases. Looking forward to it. Make sure you hit subscribe so you can be up to date with all of it that's coming out. See you guys in the next one. You!